Hello, welcome to Softline, showing on DSTV channel 258, only on Adbn TV. How are you today? I'm your uncle, Adbn is my name, and today on Softline, it won't be anything different. It's going to be a very timely topic. You know, as usual, after I chit chat, I'll bring you on this. Today's episode is actually not the regular line, the regular host. I'll be doing this with someone special. You'll get to know when I go further, but for now, I'll be doing my chit-chat segment with him. So after the chit-chat segment, I'll get to introduce him properly to you. How are you out there? Remember, you're the reason why we're always here. I keep saying this. We thank you for always watching us, and we ask that you call someone, tell someone that Softline is on Adbn. Don't forget to also follow us on our social media handles, our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Do well to ask someone to tune in. So right now, I will be doing this alone. I'm going to open this segment with Mr. Emmanuel. I was supposed to mention his name, but that's fine. Mr. Emmanuel, that's
yeah. Even if you were not going to mention it now,
I knew I was
exactly. Good to be here. Good afternoon.
So yeah, the pleasure is always mine. And thank you for always showing up whenever we call on you.
Thank you so much.
So how are you? It's been a while. What can I add to wish you a happy new year?
Yes,
we've not had it in a very long time.
True. Yeah, it's been a cost. I think we've already lost since the year had begun. And it's beginning on a good note. Yeah, there's been some changes which perhaps I might have the time to speak right into our own segment properly. So it's been on a good note. So I'm also happy to see you
yeah, so it's good we're starting the second half of the year together.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so there's this saying that says cleanliness is next to godliness, yeah. And you must stay clean, your environment must be clean, and all of that. So I'd like to ask, with special reference to Akwa Ibom State, how have you seen the state in Akwa Ibom? How clean is it? So don't also forget that we've also had feedbacks that it's been rated as one of the cleanest states in the country.
Okay. So, all right. Answering your question in a very polite way, I would say Akwa Ibom is a clean state. Perhaps one of the cleanest in the country. Now, when we speak about cleanliness, I think I will take it from an individual perspective. When we want to speak it holistically, you might be so disappointed because you don't know what your neighbor is doing by making the entire environment so untidy. So I speak as an individual because by my attitude, by my contribution in the cleanliness of the state is totally determined by how I'm keeping things. There are many people who are careless and then they throw trash everywhere. If you see them do that, perhaps in a problem, obviously it might be what they do in their privacy. So my own way of rating cleanliness holistically in the set as a tribal might be dependent on me as an individual. Do I keep my home clean? Is my environment clean? So if I do keep it clean automatically, I'm affecting, I'm a microorganism happens in the day, right? So if I don't do what that means, so many people who clap, say, oh, we are good. You should also judge the result by your attitude. You keep your home, you keep your environment clean. So the reason I call it the cleanest, it is clean in a certain perspective. So I don't want to speak generally.
Okay, you want to speak for what you know, and that's good. But looking at the perspective outside and the people, have you ever met someone not doing the right thing, probably throwing out trash, littering it carelessly, and then have you approached that person to ask why the person did that and what has been the response?
Yes, I do. The one that happened obviously was at traffic light somewhere, or one religion of Obama. It was going to lead to exchange of fisticuffs, but I have to withdraw because the other party did not understand where I'm coming from. Now, you drive a very decent vehicle, then you're eating banana, you threw the fuel on the road. It was a nice, so I didn't feel good about that. And I also, hello, sir, good afternoon. That's always the first thing. It's also business. Now they will see you as a busybody, but it is what I am not used to, because I would not just eat banana and then throw the pill in my sitting room or anywhere in my house. I won't do that. So I felt broken. There are times I see people to just feel pain in my heart. The question will be, why do this? So I've reprimanded a lot of people, but the response, like you said, is always be negative, because we will be on the defensive. They want to defend their action so that it wouldn't look like you defeated them. But it's not about defeat. We are not here to defeat anybody. It's about doing the right thing. So we can keep the record alive and create your action. You know, many folks will always be shouting at government. Government don't do this, they don't clean, the people that are supposed to sweep. Those people are human beings, though they are paid to do the job. But can you also limit the stress on those workers by doing the right thing? Because if every one of us will limit how we throw trashes irregularly, I'm sure all of these things will not.
Yeah. I wouldn't say we have this mindset.
Okay.
Or even carry out what you're doing.
Okay.
But I wish we had like 50%. Or maybe I could raise the stakes a bit high.
Even higher or lower. It's a mindset.
I know. So like you will have 70% of people with your kind of mindset. I think would go a long way to seeing that indeed we can actually achieve in the state and its environment. But then, like you also say, how do we educate people who feel entitled, they have this nonchalant attitude towards cleanliness, they feel my taxes have been deducted, it's the government's place to clean, you know, or people have responsibilities, but you are also, so because someone may be doing a thing, you also, you know, be part of it, either by curtailing the things you throw out. So how do we talk to people, how try to you know, make them have a mindset that everybody is a stakeholder in making the environment safe?
Yeah, everybody is a stakeholder, just like you've observed. You know, the only way is advocacy, like we're doing now. And then more often it's easier easy for people to follow you who lead by example. There are some people, maybe community head, for instance, who leads to things. People that are in him or around him will also want to, after all, they will say, my community leader is doing this. So if every one of us will lead by example, do the right thing, I mean, before you know, big things will be done. I mean, let me chip in this. It's like traffic light, for instance. You know, you're driving, you see the red, maybe your car is bigger for whatever model it is, and it thinks. If you know, I'm the down, they will just zoom off. You don't do that. Now, when you do it, the other man that is driving to seeing you just follow. Maybe now he's being accosted, say, come here, why do you do this? You say, what about the other man? You know, they will want to follow, but if every one of us will now do the little things and then respect the laws and then do it so that we ought to do sincerely, before you know, all these dump of refuge everywhere, literally everywhere, will begin to be minimized, if not totally mitigated.
Okay, so how about the attitude of those who are entrusted with this responsibility of clearing the debris, the rubbish, and they don't do it?
Them too, they are to blame, because, you know, I know in our main discourse, we discussed that too. You see some person sweeping the road, I think also maybe government or the agency that's handling them. And now I know people are watching us all across the world, but this particular to Kwaibo, as it were, maybe your state too, perhaps you're working from other states. Now, I feel that state government should not just provide them with sweeping materials, but maybe you can also get them a trash, something that they can put those sand after sweeping, because many of them to sweep these things either inside the gutter or they hit it along the pedestrians, and that alone is an accident of itself. So all of this can be avoided. So I think those who are even supposed to keep the environment clean are also to be held responsible with or by their attitude. So this will change. Either request right to their people quarter, let them provide you people with the trash, something you can put those side. Then after they evacuate them, to where they should be kept. I mean, we still make our state clean. So these are the things. Everybody is responsible.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I said thank you so much for lending your voice on where we should keep our environment clean. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. Everyone's responsibility it is to keep the environment clean. So just say that we'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll go into our discuss problem.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
Welcome back on the program. Line audio on Adbn TV. If you're just tuning in, watch us on DSTV channel 258 and do well to follow us on our social media handles. So today we are going to talk about flood. It's the season, and we know that a lot of states have been overwhelmed with flooding. That's because of the NIMEX prediction which was given, I think not last year, last year. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency had made us understand that 25 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, would be affected with flash floods. And the question is, what was done? Our topic for today is floods, staying safe and protecting your family. Floods, staying safe and protecting your family. Heavy rain triggers immediate dangers like flash flooding, structure damage, and landslides. It also disrupts daily life by causing severe traffic congestion, power outages, and the contamination of drinking water supplies. Long-term impacts include crop failure, topsoil erosion, and increased breeding of disease-carrying insects. Yes, when we talk about floods, that's the impact of it. So our topic of discussion today is very timely, considering the recent flooding happening in different states across the nation, with special reference to the one that hit us here in our tribal state last year. To hold this discussion today is a very important stakeholder from a relevant agency. He will educate us on what to do to stay safe during this season. Join me, welcome Mr. Emmanuel Udofia. He is the PRO at Tribal State Fire Service. Mr. Emmanuel, my guest and my co-host for today.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me again.
Again, yeah. Look at
Okay, you don't want the RPRO earlier.
Yeah, no, I don't want to add the designation.
That's okay.
So now it fits.
That's okay.
So that when you're talking, they will know that it's an authority that is talking on flooding and how to stay safe.
It's fine. I'm glad to be on the program today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The pleasure is ours to have you here.
Thank you.
So, you know, quickly, let's look at the prediction that was made by NIMEX sometime last year.
Okay.
The states were listed, 25 states, including FCT, that would be affected by the floods.
Okay.
And it was said because the volume of water, you know, when had soaked and that the soil would not be able to contain most of the waters. And what came to my mind was, with this prediction having been made before now, what were the preparations ahead to safeguard, you know, or prevent people being affected with the flood?
Thank you so much. You know, when NIMET would come to give predictions like this, to those of us who are Christians, it's like having a prophecy. You're being foretold what will happen. And when prophecy comes most times, it's not to make you relax, it's either to make you prepared. Especially in the Old Testament, when he spoke to those prophets of old, speaking to kings, it's just to make them prepare for war. It could be war, it could be some other thing. So NIMET will always give predictions. So to help those who should be involved or who might be involved or affected by end of this unforeseen eventuality to get set and ready. That's always the essence for this foretelling, for this prediction. It's not just for you to hear, like, I think it was late last year precisely, Afghanistan was mentioned that this state is marked or marked as one of the flashpoints. Okay. I remember about last year, so I was opportune to attend a stakeholders meeting, NEMA stakeholders meeting, with some of the critical stakeholders in the state. In fact, the deputy governor of Afghanistan was there. Her office is the one controlling the flood disaster. We call it AXEMA, the Emergency Management Agency. So she was there and a few other stakeholders. So we had a lot of discussions. What can we do? What should we do? What should be done? And so majorly when this prediction is to help states and stakeholders to get prepared should any of this would come in a way they would never have imagined, like what happened recently. So the prediction is just to help prepare. So the question would be, how prepared have they always been after the prediction?
Exactly. Yes. But so, I'm not sure you're throwing that question back to me, because as one of the agencies, a related agency to flood and safety and all of that, I feel, I know you may not really have a say. I wish we had a NEMA person here or the AXEMA, like you said, to tell us what their preparations were, as a general. But as a safety person, what do you propose should have been measures that would have been put in check to,
Okay, I think before I answer that question, let me also talk about the preparedness, because fire service is not excluded from preparedness here, because most people think fire service work is just to fight fire. No, we don't. Our job is huge. We do humanitarian service, like flood control, we rescue people. Most time people fall into being shook away or pit toilet, as it were. So fire service has trained personnel who carries out such rescue services. And then also we carry a lot of humanitarian services, including the flood control. So I would speak on our own perspective in terms of preparedness. We've always been prepared. Yeah, that's why you come to our stations beyond the fire trucks, you see rescue lines,
crazy,
you see
heavy downpour destroyed a lot of properties,
for instance, if
lot
maybe
of
small enters one's
certificates,
house, the program pump can be used. We channel it either with hose
drainage area
or with
here,
fast suction, and then activate the pump, and then we'll be pumping water from such buildings. So that's still part of what fire service does. So in terms of
over here, horrible.
always been prepared to do the job. Equipment that could be suitable for the job at that particular time. But I also want to take a skill for the NEMA, because they would have, but I'm sure maybe subsequently we can be working together. But you know what, recently when there was fire, they were there alongside fire service, AXEMA, almost all the major emergencies outfits. Red Cross were there as well, and then we have APSEMSAS, that is the ambulance service. All of them were there at the scene to make sure that should there be any casualty, we were able to rescue. But why we were not going to see casualty, the other things were done, like fire service. Most people and say fire service were helping to pump in water for most buildings that were affected by the flood. So in terms of preparedness, we've always been ready.
We've always been ready. And that brings me to human factor, just like we have discussed in our chit-chat segment. How I think residents, a lot of people have said people have contributed to what happened because of poor disposal of refuse, which we talked about. I think we can still talk a bit about it, though we've mentioned it in our chit-chat. People should learn how to dispose of waste properly, and also government should be able to evacuate them on time, the seal quarters, and because I know if we dispose the waste properly, we may not even have need for the silting of water, but we can't also, it's something that cannot be overlooked. that should be done. Recently, someone had said in a calling program sometime that the sanitation, environmental sanitation that has been going on, the monthly sanitation, there should be some agency to supervise what people are doing. And for houses who have gutters, that are lined where the gutters are, those houses, the people living around that area should be held responsible for whatever happens if their gutters are not clean. And then again, someone mentioned about people building on waterways. Sometimes we have a ministry, the town planning ministry. What are they doing about structures that are affecting waterways?
Yeah, there are a lot of human factors that affect flow of water, which would in turn turn to flood. You mentioned carelessness, right? I will also want to speak on that. But mind you, let me say it's because having a gutter or water runway field is not just limited to throwing trash. Meaning that government can always evacuate regularly. You know, if there's a flood, then you're washing the topsoil into the that's sand too. It's also a blockade. Yes, beyond the trash, the plastics, and the rest of the things people could throw into. So human factor is another devastating aspect. Now I'm thinking that the agency that's responsible to taking out wastes and so, there should be aside maybe a law to reprimand people or hold people responsible for doing otherwise. We should have in every strategic junction maybe a waste can whatsoever. I remember then when Donald J was in Kosovo State. I think at some point I visited Kosovo State. You will see some strategic locations and people, you will never see anything on the ground. Rather, you rather see those stuff there. So I'm sure if government too can help to activating this around us, maybe that also might limit the rates of throwing of trashes into the gutters. So whoever then will go against this, that's when the person will be held responsible. Now, another misconception people have is, if rain is falling heavily, I used to do as a child because I didn't know. Now I can't do that any longer. I think not even a teenager, I was still growing up to become a teenager. When rain falls like that, that's when we try to say, he's going to wash it. Where's he washing it? So you might even go and block the runway, water passage. So that's people's mentality. Let me just sort of wash. Where's he washing it to? You don't have a canal. Okay, even if it's going to a canal, for instance, you can also block a portion of that canal from absorbing water as it should. So people's attitude is really wrong. When it got to do with this. And then you've also mentioned an important point. I remember growing up, there's this, when we talk about sanitation, beyond monthly sanitation, we used to have a monitoring group of government. I don't know which agency it was, but we were quite young. They will come, they have entered our backyard once. They said they want to check if we have kept the backyard very well. And they were very meticulous. You cannot bribe them out too. So, and this thing suddenly fell away. That's why people become so rash, so careless. They just make the environment so untidy. And if you want to rebuke someone, like I was trying to start example, you know what? They will curse you. So now you're alone there for this country. Now you don't want to change the land. No, if you do, someone else sees you do the same thing. Then the other one say, so this is, anyone can do it. Before you become a menace. So human attitude, let's also see how to reduce some of the things we're doing, because everything big starts small. They trash someone throwing one, tomorrow it suddenly becomes bigger because everybody will join the bandwagon. So you as an individual choose to be different, not to join the bandwagon, but rather do the right thing and reprimand those who does the right thing, the wrong thing.
Okay, so I'm also thinking, when I make this prediction, how well was it being advocated or carried out, sensitized to the people so that they could be aware, and then what were the measures or what ways were they informed or sensitized on how to prevent or keep themselves aware and safe, awaiting this if it happens?
I think, though I may not remember or recall the exact number of jingles, I've heard either Ministry of Environment run jingle regarding to this. I've also heard I thought it Waste Management something agency too, but I don't know, I can't remember how frequent, but it could only be when I'm around, I hear it. But beyond wearing the jingle for people doing the right thing or not to throw trash, how well were they also prepared? Because recently, a few days ago, I'm seeing some people evacuating waste from the gutters. We don't need to wait until it really gets to us. We should always, like in my system, in my department, we've been taught and trained on proactive. Don't react when something happens. There's this balance that say prevention is better than cure. So you can always prevent it from happening. But should it happen, let it not happen when you were not prepared. So now you've done the advocacy by telling people not to throw the trash. Remember, the Nime expedition came less than a year, right? Now there are some gutters that have been filled for more than 3 years. Yes, some of those gutters have not been silted for the past 3 years. So it's not last few months program Jimmy run, or perhaps maybe we didn't run, but we make that gutter spill. It was always there. So what did we do as an agency of government? So this is where every one of us has to be responsible. I give you, perhaps not as a leader, I give you a mandate to do a certain thing. So you have to do it well. Whether I'm there to monitor or not, as long as you're mobilized and empowered to do your job, do it well. But we always love to excuse some little responsibilities, and perhaps we'll be looking for bigger ones. How did God said in the Bible? How when the small that was new, we couldn't manage it well. So both government and the people have responsibility. But the people also, please, don't blame the government for everything. Take responsibility as well.
I agree with you. So, but you see, Mr. Doctor, there are areas that have been flood prone. And we've always had reoccurrence. Each time the rainy season comes, those areas experience flood. And after that, nothing is being done. So, is it not the place of government, or did the individuals have anything in that case to contribute towards preventing the flood? For areas that are flood prone, I feel before the next flood season, before the next rainy season, government should have done something, trying to fix whatever is the cause of the flood in that area.
Yeah, flood control is not something you just work on and do overnight. It takes a whole lot of architectural work, design, and so. But you need to break a lot of things. That little I know, because a certain trough that is known, or area that's known for being prone to flood. Now, if you really want to do a great job, there has to be an overhaul, an entirely overhaul of the environment, except the ones that are within the ability of individual control, then you control or manage it. But for example, now in Akwa Ibom State, in a certain region, about 2 years ago, that someone was, a fence, part of the wall fell on him while he had rescued a few members of his family. So I'm going in. A certain wall fell, or fence fell, and then destroyed this wall, so the whole thing collapsed and the man died 2 years ago. And God helped us that we almost it's a very thin line. We almost would have recorded that death in about 2 buildings after that place someone died 2 years ago. I mean, it would have been trauma in the state. So now, this area is already known. But from what I learned was that after that incident, state government came and then they bought about 3 buildings there, asked the people to evacuate. But other neighbors were still living there. Remember, what caused that flood? The channel through that water came in from will still happen again if rain falls heavily. And it didn't happen. last week Thursday.
Okay.
The entire ground floor of a certain building is there on the social media,
Exactly.
everywhere. The entire ground floor was filled. And the occupant of that building, they almost lost their lives. So now, if you ask, what should government do? First, before government do anything, if people, they should evacuate the entire premises. Just leave. If you want to rent the house, don't rent the house there any longer. And then government also, I'm pleading that in such areas, they should buy it up, either fill it, or look for one or two things to do. But for the people, don't even want to look for remedial measures. Don't even pay house rent there again. Just leave.
You've just touched on aspects that we'll have to talk about, but
Yeah.
I think our time is fast spent for us to go on a break. When we return, we'll follow up on that. So let's just take a break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I hope you didn't touch that dial, and I hope you called someone to watch us. The program is Softline only on Adbn TV. Thanks for staying tuned. And what about flood, staying safe and protecting your family? So, Mr. Bucket, just as we're discussing before we went on a break, you mentioned something I said you just touched it, and that was what people are supposed to do to these flood-prone areas. We talked about a building, an area where, that building, the people should evacuate.
Yeah.
Before the onsets of the rain, or when people are looking for accommodation, they would always want it at an area where, one, it's affordable. It could be a flood-prone area, but because it's affordable, they will go for it. And like you said, one of the properties that we had to evacuate people, what we would advise those people is to quit that place. That is where the financial part will come in. How would these people be able to get another house? And coupled with all the things they would have lost, because a lot of people were affected. But I don't know, Director, if you can show us pictures of some of the flooded areas we had. And then you also tell us the experience. So yeah, we have some pictures here about some floods in Adbn.
This one should be the show we had.
Yeah.
Back road.
A back road, exactly.
Yeah, the one with the
Exactly.
Yeah, actually there. Your question, it's a mixed question with emotion, but sometimes we have to get some action without yes, I know things are costly. People are just finding it difficult to solve, and then you're looking for a house. You'll be ready to pay, for any building around an area that maybe the price is cheap. You see that? You were told that this place is prone to flood, and you said, no, Allah, I will survive. But I think this all can also be avoided. Okay. Most of the things that happens can be avoided. You know what I told the three ladies that were rescued? That they will actually, it's a normal thing. One said, Sir, I lost 3 of my phones. So I just bought a new car. And then water, which is swift, water carried it from a certain location and jammed at the fence. That car is gone. Our property is gone. You know what I told them? I said, with life this hope. If you were gone, you will not even know what, I don't know if dead people know that they are dead. I don't know, right? Maybe you would have known that you were gone. But God forbid that happened to you. Don't worry, you will have more. But the lesson we should learn is, before we ask government to do what they should do, I think we have to push ahead. If I get to a place, you're seeing people build moles too much. They build here, know that this place is flood in the prone area. Then I want to go get a house, and you don't want to. No, wait. But you're seeing some signs that water has been going on in this, except it's a place that is flooding through. That one is okay. But the one that is more or less like a stagnant, don't rent there. Don't. So you should leave sentiment out of this. The place is cheaper. What is the loss of property? I've seen many people, one man particularly, he's a strong man, but you could see he was bleeding his heart. His eyes were red. He said, please, I need only one thing from this house. He said, please just get me my daughter's certificate that she's living for service. We were touched. It was an emotional side that our men had to, roasted, not roasted rather, red cross when I got off this swimming trunk. Both of my men, swam through the water. I went to the house. See the risk, our job, but they still had to, they swam, went to the house, opened the door, and they were able to find the man's certificate. They said, I'm okay with this, don't worry. And this door will help me with the rest. So people will lose a lot. So how will you know when you know the effects of what you're doing or what it would happen in the near future? See one, because the amount is cheaper. So soon you see that they must lose the independent of government also to go and tell them about next, because now what you do on the bad record, or if the person die, the number of people, government should also take drastic measures. I think there's a law that says forceful, either forceful, rescue, and whatever. I'm sure. I think there's such a law. So government should either use force, tell them to evacuate, maybe find them asylum where they can stay in the meantime while you sort yourself out. So don't take risks by saying it's cheaper. Let me do because things are costing. No, your life is more important. Oh, thank you.
So thank you so very much. Though you got me emotional there. Honestly, we know that with the recent flood that happened, I think last week.
Yeah, last week.
Yes, exactly. And people lost a lot of properties.
A lot.
People have been displaced. And I wish the name of person was here because that's his area. We talk about relief and all of that, rehabilitation.
So we don't know the name of person, but we're together. Even when we have the meeting with the deputy governor, I was over there representing my unit. Now, state government said they would help.
Okay.
They will assist. And then the mandate is that the deputy governor doing that. That's basically a jurisdiction.
Okay.
There was that we get to some of those buildings, people, get their phone numbers, and then contact number, and then government will see how to help you. They will not go and build your house for you if your heart has fallen. They won't come and buy all your favorite, but just to cushion the please. Tell this token, tell this, and then run your life. I'm sure that will be done in no longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that would bring support to the victim.
Let them know that government
cares about
them.
So now let's delve into the safety part of it. I know you mentioned one like leaving the environment that you need, flood prone. But for instance, this happened at night when people were deep asleep, So waking up, I know one of the kids said when you see, when you're faced with such an incident, do not panic. I would like you, as a safety officer, to talk to the people how they can put themselves together. When you're startled, you're deep asleep and then you wake up maybe feeling weight only to realize that you're being drowned by water. How do you handle such a situation?
How do you handle it? There are some situations that doesn't need mathematics. You don't need to read something in the book. That's what you have to put your brain. Even what you read in school, just is a in your mind. So you have to, help yourself at that time in any way you can. Now, let me share one of the interns kind of thoughts she reflected. So it's that if this had happened around 2 a.m., they all would have gone. And they would have all died. That the race started at about 3. It was past 4 to 5 that it broke a certain fence close to them and then ran into their home. So then she was still lying down. Her sister had woke up earlier before then. So immediately she discovered that she was on top of water. So what kind of thing is this? So her foot was still on the ground. So she ran to toilet seat. Was also was standing. So what time was she called and said, this is serious matter. She was holding her phone in her hand. That was when she called her friend and said, please help me. We are gone. So the friend too, that also gave me a sort of thought. You may have 200 contacts in your phone. If you do not have 1 or 2 persons that if you call them, if they don't need the response, please, you don't have contact. I'm serious. This lady said, I only said, please save my life. Lord. Lady ran, left the house with the house down. You know what they did? They brought the bucket of water, empty bucket. They put their feet there. The thing just blew them on top of water. That's how they went and rescued this folk before we now came in. You understand what I'm saying? So I've seen it happen maybe. So things happen at any point in time. So when it happens like that, my tip
That's true.
if you were to be fire outbreak, I will tell you if a building is filled with carbon monoxide, don't run, crawl. But this one is water. If you crawl, something water. So what should you do? However you know you can run. If you can swim through the water. So there are a lot of nations, but sometimes spontaneity can cause you to do what you couldn't do. So let's also be active. Let our mind and spirit be active, so that we can take a decision that will save our lives should there be any possible eventuality.
Honestly, it's not a good experience. It's not something anybody should wish to experience. Director, let's take some tips and see if we can change trajectory of our discussion. Okay, we have tip from Panabia. She says, year in out, Uyo suffers flood. The flood in Uyo did not start today. It's been on for a long time. Different governments come in and do not tackle it effectively. What would it cost our leaders to solve the problem? It's a shame that in 2026 we're still seeing floods in Akwa Ibom State. What do the leaders of our state use their location they receive for? It's time for us to speak truth to power. And Annie says the flood a lot of people are currently witnessing in New York could have been avoided. It will get worse if nothing is done. All right. Then Jeff says the thing is people do not understand how bad it is until they face it. That's true. It's nothing to declutter waterways. New York has good drainage system, but either blocked by road sweepers or people carting trash in it. It will touch everybody. After the flood waters receded, seeing their homes reduced to ruins, the survivors didn't know whether to be relieved or to be alive or to continue breathing. This is actually sad. It's sad to see. And most of the streets in New York don't have drainages, and if you find any, it's either on one side of the road. These are roads constructed by so-called engineers. This flood will happen next year again. It's not our prayer. Let's not pray it happens again. I want to believe that with this one, we pray that...
I don't know. I'm not religious lingo, but I'm a child of God. We pray a lot of time. You feel, that's it. So the question should be, what should we do when it happens? We can do your home. No matter how it falls, we will run to it. That's just your own thing. But if what should be done is not done, you'll be thinking, you need job you should not pray over everything. So people, sorry please, some of these people have, learned their frustration. Most of them are bloated. Should we have to deceive them when issues happen? No, we should do before it happens. Like Mehmet would always give a pre-information. We should be asking, why should we wait until the things we need to fight again?
So that we fight again. Like one of the son said, and year in, year out.
No, can I shock you? There's a road off two lanes that has just been tarred. It's a little street. But while the house was there, they previously the road before the house fell. Most of those signs were already in the government. Now they moved it. They did. They just left it.
Whose error?
The company.
The construction
company. They didn't do, and this happened. Most of the road down. Why not come and clear them? Now they already plotted the entire place for people. So now the little one who now put on top. Let them go there again. So any responsible contractor doing any government work, when you're done with whatever you're doing, clear the gutter. Let's see it clean first. Don't start to put things there for us before we now start experiencing flaws. So the construction companies will have the
exactly, the construction company. So I don't know how government, one would say the common man.
The common man.
So how do we assess government? How do we put this? Who will bear this cost? Who will make sure that he or she carries this burden and sees to the fact that the current government or a government, either incoming or the current government does something. I know immediately after the floods, we learned that the action was taken. So that was after the damage. So what we're looking at is permanent solution to this so that it doesn't happen. That's why I said we shouldn't pray it happens again. So after the disinfecting of the gutters, what next? I know I heard the governor say they would do anything even if someone's house is on the no matter who owns it, they'll bring it down. So it's not about the words only, it's the action. We really want to see something being done, in view of the fact that this wants to be put, like the flooding situation wants to be put on in a proper perspective, in a right, what do you call it now? The right thing is being done to avoid future, occurrence.
You just mentioned Governor saying that anybody building on waterway, no matter who you are, that's important. It one governor to say what he said, and he means what he said. The most important thing is those working with him are they able to interpret his mind about the time he wanted it interpreted. You may have a lot of leaders, but your lieutenants, if they are not in terms to your vision, to your mind, there might be delay, and people will be shouting at you, the governor, the leader, as it were, not those following you. Like what we see happen, it was after the meeting. In fact, it was the deputy governor that gave the marching order. Because the deputy governor represented the governor. The governor wasn't in town, right? Exactly. And then this happened. And it's a good one. We're happy that this happened. But my concern is also that these two could have been happening or could have been in place before this happened. Because these gutters were not just gutted in the space of how many days?
Exactly.
Perhaps it's been there for years. Now people have lost their property. We are grateful to God that no life was lost. Imagine the heap of imagine the heap of sand. So it's happening. We pray it doesn't happen in a sense that I feel the pain of people, someone crying like that day, going to somewhere to kind of afford. They would cry actually. How do I do it? Where will I start from? My prayer is that it should not happen such that it will affect people to this extent. But if flood can be, let it just be on the normal minimum rate. But for government, we wish for proactive measures other than reactive measures.
Oh dear, I honestly, our heart goes out to all the flood victims in the state and all over the country, because this isn't peculiar to Akwa Ibom State. Before now we saw pictures and heard in the news about Lagos State. That was terrible too. Even in Cross River, and
a few days ago, right? Even in Ghana, I'm told that the president of Ghana was in chopper because it was bad. So it's everywhere.
it's everywhere.
So no, it's everywhere, but we cannot excuse our responsibility.
For that. Okay, so Mr. Ma, I would like you to just give what would I call it? Some other tips, like
Now, the tips I would also give is still this: please be responsible, because keeping the environment clean is one of the ways to avoiding what happens. If you don't keep the environment clean, you might be throwing trash thinking that water is taking it to wherever you're thinking. Normally, it's even blocking the pathway that will tomorrow become a problem to you. So keep the environment clean, and then also if such emergency occur, run for your life. Look for any available exit route. I tell people, when it has to do with fire-related issues, don't block the exit route. Keep it open. Keep it clear. Just open, run for your life. Don't just wait. You know that where you're running to is safe, like maybe you call it the muster point. You said run there and then account to your family members. So safety is everyone's business. So do your part. Government is doing their part, and I hope they do more of their part. What we do, it's a contributory effort. So every one of us do the little things we ought to do. Government is doing their. Before we know, we have a very safe and a better society to live in. So that's my advice.
I think there couldn't have been a better advice to give, because at this point there is really nothing anybody can do other than to be responsible. Each and every one of us must be responsible for cleanliness and safety of our environment. Your actions should be the one that would deter you, because your actions and inactions could cause the problem you are facing today. It could also be a problem for your neighbor. So while one person is trying not to do the wrong thing, the other person is doing the wrong thing, it won't go anywhere. Everybody's hands will be on deck to make sure that we do the right thing. We shouldn't throw our trash at the wrong places. We should discard our waste at the appropriate places. Like in the state, we have dump sites. So if everybody does that, and also we'll ask the government, plead with our government to do something about the flood-prone areas, whatever it would take to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because it's very disheartening, it's very painful to find people, get displaced, lose their properties, the emotional trauma and everything. Wow. Mr. Mano, thank you so much for coming on the show and for being my guest and as well as my co-host. Yes, it's always a pleasure. So, friends, Softline have come thus far, and this is the much we can take for today's edition. We'll return your way with more interesting topics. All you need to do is always watch out for us. Thank you, and bye for today.
Adbn, a part of you. Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. ADBN, a part of you.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss